All right, testing, testing, testing. Testing. Here's a second to get everything set up here. Make sure we're sounding all right. All right. Sounding good? All right. All right, everybody. Sounds like we got good audio here. So I got, just in the interest of full disclosure, just let you know, I spent most of my day in the emergency room today. Unfortunately, my wife had an illness. She's doing much better now, but she's not totally out of the woods yet. So if I'm a little out of it, that's why. So a little concerned on that. But I wanted to get this information out to you because I came across something in a 911 call that might be really interesting as far as possibly looking into other shooters being out there besides Paddock or whoever was shooting out of Mandalay Bay there, or possibly more shooters. But this one might even point to one being way further away from Mandalay Bay than what I expected. So let me go ahead and get the 911 call set up for you here. So bear with me 1 second. What I'll do is I'll play that first, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail why I think this is so important. But let me get us set up here. Probably the police, fire, and medical. My daughter works at Fatburger on Las Vegas Boulevard. She said they're up there shooting. She just got shot. At Fatburger? Fatburger on the strip. She said she was shot? Like, how long ago did she say she was shot? She just hung up on me like 5 seconds ago. 5 seconds ago. 5 seconds ago. I'm going up there now, and I'm on my way. Okay, ma'am? Oh, my God. Ma'am, stay off of the strip right now, okay? What? Stay off of the strip. Keep yourself safe. I'm going to get officers out there as soon as I can. Did you say where she actually she was? She's a cashier. She said what? Cashier. She's a cashier at Fatburger? Yes, she is. So, no, I'm not going to stay out there. Okay. I'm way up there. Okay, ma'am. What's her name? Her name is Amber. Amber. What's her phone number? And I'm going up there right now. Okay, what's your name? I am Regina, her mother, and okay. I'm on my way up. Okay, that's fine. And what's your phone number? Hey, I got a mom saying she got one shot at Fatburger. Oh my God. 701. You're ready to get up there now. Get back. Man, what's your phone number? Yeah, I need to go call your daughter, okay? I gotta go. Okay. I'm gonna go call your daughter. I need to go. You need to call her. Okay, so now I'm going to go over why I think that's kind of important. I'm going to have to share the application here. All right, so let's go over the location of where the shooting. Now, she didn't specifically come out and say exactly where her daughter was shot at, but the way it sounded to me was she said her daughter was a cashier at Fatburger and was shot. Okay, that was the call. Okay, now we all know the Mandalay Bay. If you remember from my previous videos, I explained that this first inner circle that you see here is the perimeter of the effective range of the AR-15 type rifles that Paddock or whomever was using in that area. Now, the bullets will travel further than this, but this is based on the mil specs for where you could be somebody with a relative, minor marksmanship skills should be able to be effectively hit a target at these ranges. So that would be the extent of that effective range. Now, the outer circle has to do with the AR-10 effective range, which is a 308 round, so a little bit bigger round, so a little bit more effective area. Now, the Fatburger that the mother was referencing in that phone call is right here. And so it comes out to a little over 1,600 yards away, approximately 1,600 yards away from where Paddock was shooting at. Now, if you go down to the street level view and you look over here, okay, so apparently that's the place. So, and you pan over here and there's the Mandalay Bay there. But it just seems pretty, I mean, bullets can travel quite a ways, a couple miles. But to go through, stuff like this potentially, if she's a cashier, maybe she's in there, maybe she was on the outside. I don't know. I mean, these are just questions that have to be answered. But I'm just saying, if that's the case, how did a bullet from Paddock hit her here? That would be one hell of a coincidence if there was just another random shooting just at the same time and happen to hit another person. So I don't know if any of you've heard of anything about shootings at the Fatburger or something like that, or you can lead me to any information with that. I'd sure like to see it, because I find this kind of interesting that it looked that I've never heard. I mean, I've heard of a lot of injured, wounded, people being taken quite a distance away. But the way that 911 call sounded, I mean, I understand. I mean, I can't imagine how horrible it was for that lady to hear that her daughter's been shot. And I mean, my reaction probably exactly the same. And I'm looking at something from KL here with the blanket cover. There was literally a call place. So Kale, are you saying that are you saying there was a cover up over that? Like they basically just said, "Oh, nothing happened there," but you think that there is a possibility something happened there? Let me pan out a little bit. Because you could see the distances here. I mean, even if you were on the outside walking around here, maybe she heard a commotion, let's say, and came out. I mean, I don't know. The odds of a bullet from that event traveling like that, I don't know. It's something that has to be looked into. I mean, you can see here as I've told you before, this marks where the bodies were found of some of the fatalities. Most of the fatalities passed away at the hospital, so those would not be represented here. But these folks, the yellow silhouettes here represent where the deceased victims' bodies were found. So, it doesn't necessarily mean like these folks were killed here, like a bullet struck them dead and they instantly died right there. And they could have been carried there in an attempt to get them medical assistance. There's multiple possibilities, but I just find it a little hard to believe that a round from there hit over there. It just seems like there might be a little something else to it. Let me read here, Kale. There were calls played. I'm reading this from one of in the live chat here. In KL, there were calls placed to Fatburger and someone denied shots there. However, there were several reports in radio traffic that night, and this woman was not acting, that's for sure. Yeah, that's what I agree. That's what I'm saying. That didn't sound like some lady that was just one of what they call it, a crisis actress or whatever. I think that this was somebody who was. It sounded like me. I have kids, and if I heard something like that, I'd be freaking out just like that. So, I don't know. This is, I'm not making, that's a hell of a long ways. And I know there's a lot, I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to weapons and things like that. And I feel pretty confident in my assessment here of how far the effective range would be. And I don't know. Just seems a little unusual, especially if she was inside there. And like I already pointed out here, when you go to the street level on the Fatburger, there's like the best cover sign I've seen down the strip. Like, let me pan over a little bit here. I mean, That would stop a lot of lead that would be coming from there. Especially a bullet traveling from that distance, it's going to lose a lot of its kinetic energy. It's going to bleed off a lot of its airspeed. So by the time it gets there, I mean, it'll probably bounce off. Now, here's another one from Kale. There was an emergency call and a need for medics to Fatburger that night on radio traffic. They were sent there with Force Pro team. And Ninth Degree aerial perspective says, did you see the Health Rangers sound analysis? There were 3 shooters without a doubt. I may have. I've seen a lot of those different ones. I don't know if I've seen the exact one you're referencing, but I've heard on it. Paul Revere says, thanks for reporting on this great work. Thanks a lot, Paul. I appreciate it, man. I really do. So let me go back here. I want to play now, since we're on the subject of multiple shooters here. There was a couple of other calls that came in. This one was really, I found this one really suspicious. Let me get it set up here. All right, bear with me. And I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can see the call numbers and you'll be able to look it up at your leisure. All right, so I'm just going to share screen. And here we go.
Emergency Gramis 10177. Hi, my name is Kate. I'm in Las Vegas. We're by an apartment complex across the street from Mandalay Bay, by where the shooting was. There's 2 people that look like suspects that were shooters that have just changed clothes that we can see by the window. Okay, where are you at? Okay, hold on 1 second, okay? I'm gonna let them know, okay? We have multiple calls. Okay. What is the exact address? Did they come in running? Ma'am? Do you know if they came in running? One guy, we didn't see them enter. We just saw one guy there changing his clothes, and another guy walked up with him, and now they're trying to hide. Okay, hold on. They're changing clothes. Hey, Tina. 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 Mike here at Oasis, which is across the street from the strip. And there's 2 guys changing their clothing. I've been married 425 hiding in bushes. Okay. Okay. 3795. Hold on 1 second, okay? Yeah, I'm here. There's a vacant lot that they're walking into. There's like a little river in the vacant lot right there, like a riverbed. Okay. But which direction is that? It's looking. Look out the window. I'm looking. Is the vacant lot still inside the casino? Or I'm sorry, not casino. I apologize. And no, we're on the very edge of the apartment complex. The vacant lot's right next to it. So outside the complex? Yes. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay, we have multiple calls. I'm so sorry. Okay, so we're trying to update that Sunday.
Okay, so I just thought that was a little weird that that call came in talking about individuals hiding, suspects changing clothes. By itself, I don't know. I think she even asked in there, did you see weapons? And they're not seeing any weapons or anything like that. So it's not really enough to indict anybody, but it is a little interesting that, they're seeing this outside their window and observing it, and it's just one more piece of the puzzle to look at. I don't know. It could be nothing, could be something. Looking at some of your comments here in the live chat. Paul Revere says 3 women were found in room with Stephen Paddock. And Paul says again, from police report, their identities are not revealed, known as number 1, number 2, and number 3. Are you familiar with this? I've heard that. I need to, it's problem is I got a full-time job. I do, so this is kind of like I do part-time, so I got to be honest with you, I haven't put the hours in on that specific aspect. I've been so busy lately with just going through the 911 calls and the body cam footage. I know I didn't see any evidence of that on the body cam footage, but yeah, could be a million reasons why I didn't see any evidence of that on the body cam footage. And I'm sure you all know what those might be. KL says Force Pro is a team of FD and LE fire department law enforcement under MACTAC deployment, which my understanding that would be they're expecting a gunfight would be what it would sound like to me. They're expecting some kind of a dangerous encounter. Paul says cameras being turned off is a big red flag. ISIS claimed responsibility for this attack also, and before it happened said an attack would happen in Las Vegas months prior. That's totally correct, and I actually have a news footage. It was done by Fox News. It was a news story they did months before this saying, hey, ISIS has done videos where they'd shown videos of the strip and suggesting they were going to attack the strip and all that. And well, guess where Mandalay Bay and the Route 91 concert and all that was right there. And Paul says, I could provide this information. I'm finding a link now. Yeah, if you could do that, I appreciate it. Truth Seekers United says, I posted a video with the names of the three women that were found in there with Paddock. So, I don't know. I got to be honest, in the very beginning of the investigation, I really looked to me like it was one shooter doing, what he did. But the more evidence, like I said, the last live stream we did, what's really got my curiosity up is the fact that a judge order had to be given before any of this information be released. If there wasn't something to hide, why the hell would they fight it so hard? There must be something in there that they're hiding. And then you're finding, I'm seeing things like this Fatburger incident, where somebody may have been shot quite a distance away from the Mandalay Bay crime scene, or from the where the concert was. These are all, red flags that need to be investigated. And, the FBI is involved in this investigation. We all know how trustworthy they are. We can't trust a thing that they say. Las Vegas Police Department, they're, at the high echelons, they've got a lot of connections with the Las Vegas casino, for lack of a better term, cartel, the cartel that basically runs Las Vegas and, keeps the casinos going. And, they were big supporters of Lombardo and stuff like that as far as his campaigns and things go. So there's a lot of different factors and issues involved, and a lot of lawsuit potential, and a lot of, really rich people really worried they're going to lose money. So all of this creates layers of doubt and just layers of BS that we've got to skim through to try to find the truth. And that's what we're all doing. Yeah, I agree with Truth Seeker saying they are hiding something. All right. Let's see here. KL reservation for 134, so paddock reserved room in Danley's name. However, the women were registered in 135, not 134. Yeah, they are definitely hiding something. Yeah, I mean that's the only possible logical conclusion. I got one more 911 call. Well, let me see. Now this is something about a Bellagio shooter. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what that one was, but give me 1 second and I will bring it up. Okay. All right. So share screen.
Hi, hello?
Hello, do you need police, fire, or medical?
Police, fire, medical, everything.
Okay, where are you at?
Yeah.
At the Bellagio? Okay. Are you calling about an active shooter?
Yes.
Okay, did you see a suspect?
She's hiding behind a cash register somewhere.
A suspect is?
No, my mom is.
Oh, your mom is? Okay, and you're not at the Bellagio right now?
No, I'm not.
Okay, and what's your name?
My name is Kelly.
Okay, and your phone number? Okay, and do you know if your mother's injured or not?
Sorry?
Do you know if there's any injuries to your mother?
No.
Okay, alright, I'll go ahead and update the officers. Thank you.
Okay, and so basically what she was saying is there was a shooter at the Bellagio, and now the woman, the caller, wasn't there herself. She said her mother was. Let's find the Bellagio. Just bear with me. I gotta find it down here. That's not what I wanted. There we go. All right, so let's see where the Bellagio is. So that's the Bellagio. So that's a lot further out of the effective, fire range of Paddocks or whomever's firing position up there. So Fatburger is pretty hard to believe his rounds would reach that far and go through all that stuff and hit the cashier. It's really, really, really stretches plausibility to think anything will get into Bellagio. Now, there's a few, I've got some other videos that suggest there was a shooter at Bellagio and things like that, and that's an area I want to kind of look into and see what I can come up with as soon as I get through this mammoth task of going through these 911 calls. But that if and there's a good possibility there could have been another shooter there at some point, and this could have been a much bigger operation than they're letting on. Maybe that's what they were trying to hide. They were trying to hide with all this, but that's where the Bellagio is, and that's quite far away from what according to what Las Vegas police and the FBI are reporting is the only shooter was right here. And we've got two 911 calls right there. Now, Bellagio one's not reporting anybody being shot, but it is reporting an active shooter in that area. And so, the lady was saying her mother was hiding. And then you have the Fatburger incident where the woman's calling in saying that her daughter's been shot. Okay, these are way outside of this area. I mean, the police perimeter wasn't even extended out that far for quite some time, from what I understand. So I don't know. That seems pretty weird to me. All right, let me look at some of your comments here. Paul Revere, if we do not look for the truth, who will? The women were said to be found with Paddock. Truth Seeker United. Too many inconsistencies with everything. I agree. Paul Revere, shooter at Bellagio. There was report on this and video footage at the Tropicana of shooter and SWAT. Truth Seeker United says, thanks for everyone does to help keep this going and finding the truth. Yeah, that's exactly right. Because if we don't do it, no one else will. You know, the mainstream media ain't going to do it. We all know how worthless they are. And Truth Seeker also says, and a guy filmed running on the roof of Tropicana. Paul Revere says, maybe we should ask this. Why would he be the perfect patsy? Yeah, that's a question worth looking into. You know, why is I mean, Paddock is pretty well disposed. Like, if you were gonna pick somebody, I guess. I mean, no online presence. You know, kind of a loner, weirdo. Doesn't seem to have very many friends. But he worked with the government. He worked with Lockheed Martin, the IRS. You know, he was never committed a crime, as far as I know, until this incident. He had that little slip and fall incident where he sued that casino, but that certainly wasn't a criminal event of any kind. So yeah, why would he have made such a great patsy? I don't know. It's something worth looking into. Maybe for those very reasons. I mean, there wouldn't be a lot of people there to speak about his character because he was a loner. So he's not going to have a bunch of defenders. I mean, he has some brothers, you know, and that, you know, I don't know, you know, I don't want to say it, speak ill of people I don't know, but I don't know how much the public trusts of them. And, you know, Mary Lou Danley, and you know, there's still a lot of questions I have for her. I mean, when I heard that she admitted to whoever was interrogating her, the Las Vegas police or FBI or whoever, and said that, oh, well, you're going to get my fingerprints on some of the bullets that were loaded in the magazines that he has. That was a little weird because I'm an avid shooter. I shoot all the time. I got an AR. I'm huge. I go to the range all the time, you know, whenever I get a chance. And I've never asked my wife to load my magazines for me. You know, it just, I don't know. It just struck me as weird, you know, that would to be a response. I mean, like, she had an instant excuse. Hey, by the way, you're going to find my fingerprints on there. Now, I don't know. I'm not trying to accuse her of anything. I'm just saying it was something that stuck out in my mind. I still have questions about Mary Lou Danley's what I'm getting at here. True Seeker, most of the calls are after 11, so Paddock was dead for 45 minutes or so. Long time to call saying you're hearing shots still. Yeah, that's the thing. And you know, one area, because I like to look at things from devil's advocate point of view. Now, when they breached the room, you know, they blew the door to go in there to Paddock's room. I could see that some people would hear that and report it as more shots being fired. I mean, everybody's amped up. They're expecting, you know, gunfire because they've already had this horrible attack. I could see people being jumpy and saying, hey, there's another shooting going on. Then you had the second breach with the errant discharge when what was his name? Levi went into the room there and pulled the trigger and opened fire in there. So you had gunfire and another, you know, a controlled dead or whatever you want to call it when he blew the door, and then a burst of gunfire. So maybe people reported that, but that doesn't explain all the calls and way outside the area where they could hear what was going on at Mandalay Bay. Let's see what else we got going on. What do you think of this is from Kelly Raybaum. I'm sorry if I say your name's wrong. What do you think of the new video that came out with them in Paddock's room? He pulls back the curtain and says, we do not have a broken window, then says, no, Corey, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. Now, I want to go through that. I've seen that video several times. I've gone over it several times. I want to bring it up. I haven't had time to do it. I'm going to do it, though. I want to bring up the audio on my my video editing software. I want to listen a lot more carefully to what's being said because I'm not sure the translation of what he's saying is correct. I want to be sure in my own mind of what those guys were actually saying before I comment on that. To be honest with you, I just want to make sure I have all the information on that because I have some questions that he may be saying something a little different than what they're saying, but I'll probably do a regular video, not a live stream on that, so I could explain it a little clearer. So I'll put that on there. Let's see. KL says maybe he wasn't exactly a patsy. Could be. Paul Revere says gun deal gone bad. Yeah. I mean it has all the hallmarks of it. We know our government. That would explain the secrecy now, wouldn't it? I mean, we know our government's perfectly capable of doing these type of illegal weapons deals. We've seen them before. You know, there was one involving, I believe, in the Philippines, and then Fast and Furious. And I'm sure those are just the small number we know about. I'm sure there's plenty more than that we don't know about. So it very well could be. You know, and like I said, I find it hard to believe that Paddock's just this badass gambler who makes money off the stupid machines that rip everybody off. You know, but oh, he's so good at math, and that's how he makes a living. It's probably more than likely, you know, it looks to me like that was his cover story for what his life was. But he was actually out there doing other things, and you know, I could totally see that. Let's see, Slayer 88. I have my GF handle my weapon all the time. Yep. True Seeker United. Yeah, a lot of calls from pretty far away as well. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You get 911 calls, you know, coming from what other building? You know, Paris, New York Hotel, Excalibur, Tropicana. I mean, just look at some of these hotels here. So Tropicana. Okay, that's out. That's pretty outside, closer than Bellagio, but you know, you have Caesars over here. You have Excalibur. Where's Excalibur? Over there. New York. You remember a lot of calls were called in on that one. New York. The Paris Hotel, right out there. I mean, these are all places where 911 calls were, and that's pretty damn far away from where the event was supposedly the only event was taking place. Calls. KL saying, I'm not comfortable with the gun deal scenario. It just doesn't fit. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying it's 100% one way or the other, but I'm saying if, you know, it makes sense in my mind to a certain degree, but I wouldn't bet my life on that. It's just a theory at this point. I wouldn't even call it a hypothesis. I don't even have enough info for that, really. It's just kind of a theory. I mean, right now we got to kind of look at it with an open mind because we know we can't trust the facts that we're, you know, or supposed facts we're being given by the authorities. So we got to look at this as like a totally open book right now until we can start eliminating some certain things, and you know that's what we're all working together to do. But I'm not saying that, oh yeah, it has to be the gun running thing, and anything outside of that is just not possible. You know, maybe it wasn't something like that. Maybe it was, you know, something completely different. Paul Revere says, reminds me of the movie Shooter with Mark Wahlberg, how he was set up. It's weird, but worth noting. Yeah, that was interesting how, you know, it's kind of like that. Who knows? I'm sure he says we do not have a broken window. True Seeker United says, I'm sure he says we do not have a broken window, Corey. Tell him it's us. And I know he's saying it to the sniper or to the teams out there. I know. You know, please don't take it as an insult. I want to hear these things for myself on my own, you know, with my headphones, with using my editing software before I agree with some. It's not an insult to anybody. It's just the way I operate. I got to know for myself. So I'm kind of OCD about this, about that. Paul Revere says on 4chan there was a post from September that said something would happen in order to bring about more metal detectors across all casinos and hotels, more control. Do any of you live in Vegas or been to the casinos lately? Have you seen that? I mean, I haven't been there in quite some time, so I don't know if that's actually something that's gone down. KL says the gun deal just doesn't fit. Something went wrong, it seems. Something with 134. Quite possible. Paul Revere, the calls could have been made after these people got away from the danger zone. Yeah, that's possible as well. Questions everything. Question everything. Good motto. It really is. And True Seeker says he was doing something illegal. You know, why? I mean, like I told you, I love guns and things like that. And I like target shooting and all those type of things. And if I was rich, which I'm not at all, but if I was, I would probably buy a lot of firearms. But I wouldn't buy like 30 something versions of an AR, it's almost identical ARs. It just doesn't make much sense. And if I did, I would probably make sure there were sights on them. A lot of those didn't have optics of any kind. I mean, so I don't know how much these weapons, just don't get the feeling that these weapons were for personal use. It just looked to me like something you would do in some kind of a gun trade or deal or something like that. But that doesn't mean that's what it is. I'm just, I find it hard to let go of the fact that so many of these weapons were just not ready to go. I mean, you don't bring I understand he was just spraying the crowd, so maybe that was the thinking behind it. Hey, I don't need any sights. I'm just going to fire wherever. But I don't know. You also sometimes sell weapons that way with no accessories on there. So just something worth noting. Oh, sorry, KL. So, I was commenting back to someone on the thread on the gun deal. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to get in the middle of it there. You could tell no windows. Kelly Rayborn saying you could tell no windows were shot out in the video I just mentioned. True Seeker says, "Oh yeah, for sure." True Seeker, I understand completely. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's just I want to watch these things, see it, and make have it make sense in my own mind. I try to my reputation on the line. I know my channel's not big now and all that, but I'd like to make a name for myself one day as being an independent journalist, and I got to make sure that I'm really honest with what I'm doing. That's why I'm very honest with you guys about what I do and don't know. I don't want to blow my credibility, so I want to research these things for myself before I totally commit to them. Is kind of what I'm saying. Before Paul Revere said that was September for the attack. And Kelly Rayborn saying whatever was said in that video, the main point is no windows were shot out. Paul Revere says I would question how the video got out where we saw no broken windows. That is key. Yeah, and and I don't know. There was an awful lot of cops in there, but we only got body cam from 2, and one of them didn't really show much of anything. And the second one, it shows at least him walking. Yeah, it was the canine cop. I always say his name wrong, Blitko or whatever gentleman's name was, but he, him wandering through there, and but that was about it. You didn't really see anything, but I know exactly the clip you're talking about where they pull back the windows and all that, and I'll look into it a little bit further before I go and say for sure one way or the other. But I will definitely do that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what is it? It comes down to this, basically. We cannot trust what they're saying. I keep finding little evidence. I have plenty of video evidence of people saying they're hearing shots from other places. I got plenty of 911 calls. I have the police radio, dispatched, which says that there's, shooting here, shooting there. I mean, could it have been a lot of people that were intoxicated, panicking? I mean, panic is contagious. So, yeah, it could be and spreading that way. But there's something. My main point for this live stream tonight was that Fatburger call, because that just seemed a little too specific and a little too unusual. And I would really like if we could look into that. I'm gonna investigate it a little further. But as a team, if we could all look into seeing if we can find something out about that, maybe some concrete information on that. And I think some folks have already sent me some links, and I really appreciate it. I really think. If we could find out if somebody was shot there at that building, I think that would be really key to finding out. To kind of trying to put some of this puzzle together. It might make some sense, and it would give us some other areas to look at. I would question. True Seeker United. So, what's your thoughts on the video that seems to show gunfire out the window? So I'm assuming you're talking about the one where it shows it coming right out of Paddock's room, not that one that earlier video that came out as a strobe light in the lower left-hand corner, I believe, of the Mandalay. I'm assuming you're talking about that one where they zoomed in and kind of slowed in on it and showed the gunfire coming from his room. I saw one video like that. It's possible. This is the thing, though. This is something to consider. Those weapons, because I looked at the weapons list, and like I'm. Please don't think I'm trying to brag. I'm not. I'm mentioning it because it's relevant to this. Is my experience with firearms. I know, what's a high, and expensive AR and what's a cheap AR. A lot of the ARs that he used were high end, nice ARs, expensive ones that cost a bit of coin. So a lot of them had really good flash suppressors on the end of them. So I don't think you would see as much, not as much as you would think. It's not like in the movies typically where you see gunfire like that, where, especially when you've got, you're shooting a $2,000 AR with a really nice flash suppressor on it. I mean, I've fired mine at night, and I have an expensive AR, and I don't really get much of a flash out of it. There's a little bit. So basically, to answer your question after I went on that long diatribe, is it did kind of look realistic to me, because it was faint enough where I could see that maybe it would be actual gunfire. Yeah, didn't after. Yeah, and KL points out the video came out of nowhere, didn't it? Like after 9 months. Yeah, that's my understanding. Paul Revere says the LVPD stated that a full report would be out a year from the attack, so October 1st going to be interesting date for the revelation. I mean, weren't they supposed to have it out in July? I thought, though, in this month, and then last I heard, now they're going to move it to maybe August. I don't know. A report coming out a few weeks from LVMPD anyway. Yep, the new one. Good call, Kay. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they're gonna say this time. I mean, it's definitely a lot of cover their ass type stuff. I mean, that's like I said. I mean, Las Vegas police. I don't know if you remember this, but in the very beginning, right after the shooting, there was a question about the timeline, and there was a dispute about when Mandalay Bay reported the shooting and when the police responded. And basically the casinos got really pissed because it started to look like, I believe the problem was they looked like they didn't report it to the police very fast. Like they kind of sat on the information, and the casinos immediately, attacked back and said, no, Las Vegas police are wrong. That's not the timeline. We contacted them immediately. And they even provided like some of the recorded calls and things like that. And Las Vegas police immediately changed their story. And that's, around the time they started becoming much more combative with the public and things like that. So just worth noting, I think that the casino bosses, back in the day with Las Vegas, it was the mafia that controlled things. And, they basically controlled, who did business and how they did business, and they could ruin your life or end your life. Well, nowadays it's just more about, I mean, it's all money. It's kind of like a corporate gangstership, I guess you could say now, and they have an awful lot of power, and you could see that where they immediately, say, hell no, that's not the way that is. And the Las Vegas Police Department, Sheriff Lombardo immediately, yes, sir, no, that's not what happened. You're exactly right. There's no liability for MGM at all, for Mandalay Bay. To me, that was just kind of what the symbol was. It was like, hey, jerk, you're not going to get us into a lawsuit. So I think that the love affair, it only goes one way. I think it's mainly the casinos telling the police what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. But that's just my opinion. And KL is saying report is done, just needs the FBI to sign off. Oh, that's lovely. How trustworthy they are. I mean, I don't know. Can they take the time out from trying to get Trump unseated? Undoing the democratically elected president of the United States. I mean, that's got to be a full-time job, and it seems to be for them anyway. So, yeah, I don't know. So hopefully they'll get that on their to-do list right behind screwing up our country. Paul Revere asks, was any money reported stolen? Stolen from where exactly, Paul? Oh, I see what you're saying. Is this a diversion? Check all the casinos losing abnormal amounts at night or robberies there or nearby. That's a really good point. That's something to look into. Yeah, I'll look into that, because that would, it's another area we got to look into. We'll just knock these theories down one by one, but let's look for that. Maybe this was meant to draw police. I mean, look at the police presence that this shooting got. It got basically every police officer in that entire city there, and probably a few outlying ones, you know, and counties, and God knows what the police response was. I mean, it's a possibility. So it is something that's got to be looked into. And were any of you that are on the live chat right now? Were any of you there at the concert when this happened? Yeah. Well, wait for see if any of you were there. Paul Revere mentions also Saudi's own top 4 floors of Mandalay Bay. Yeah, that's true. They do. And yeah, I lived in Saudi Arabia incidentally for a year. Maybe one day when I feel like reliving that nightmare, I'll tell you what fun that was. I won't be going back. We'll put it down that way. Paul Revere said, I was in Vegas months before at the Luxor. Yeah, I'd really like to talk with anybody. Like, if there's anybody, nothing out of the ordinary, Paul says when he visited. And if there's any witnesses, you know, that were there, I'd love to talk with you and pick your brain. I'd kind of like to start to, you know, get my own interviews going, maybe of witnesses there, and see what information I could build out, you know, kind of see. I mean, those were the folks that were there, not me. All I can do is base my information off what I interpret from videos and phone calls. It's something entirely different to talk to somebody who was there. Paul Revere says, I'm done with Vegas. Too crazy, too hot. Yeah, or too crazy and hot. Yeah. Yeah, I spent a couple of years on, yeah, I hear you. I agree with you. Kelly Rayborn says, do you think the trajectory of the bullets and where the bodies were lined up with the shots from Paddock's windows, do you think the trajectory of the bullets and where the bodies were lined up, shots of Paddock window? Well, let's look back into that real quick. So I'm going to share my screen. I mean, so I'm going to take out the AR-10 line because, I mean, it looks like he only fired 8 AR-10 rounds from what I've heard. I could be wrong on that. So, but let's be primarily concerned with the weapon system that he used the most, which was the AR, which fires the 5.56 or the .223 ammunition. So, I mean, you know, and another thing is, like, I don't know if anybody else has come across this, but I haven't seen any autopsy reports, so I can't say where the bullets entered and all that, and, you know, all those type of things. But given where I know the deceased victims were found, I could see the shooter being up there. You know, I guess I got to be honest with you. I mean, you had 22,000 people in this small area. If you sprayed a gun from up there into a crowd right there, this would be kind of what I would expect to see, unfortunately. KL says there were many diversions that night. Radio traffic reporting 445 devices, explosive devices. Body cam officers confirming those threats at UMC, Mandalay Bay, and Strosphere. Casualty collection at Mandalay Bay. And then Paul Revere says, Paddock's house was broken into a night or so after the attack. Are you aware of this? Yeah, I have news coverage of that, actually. So what happened was, and by the way, if you guys, I have tons, like just so you know, I had basically my computer set up. It automatically recorded any videos that came out about Las Vegas for months afterwards. So I've got news coverage about everything. It's just a matter of I mean, it's a terabyte of information. It's a lot of stuff to go through. But one of the videos I did see, though, was that the police went in there, supposedly got what evidence they thought was necessary and left. And then the house was broken into, allegedly. But, you know, that reeks just like everything else about this case. Kale, Stratosphere. Stratosphere was the name of the one of the other areas that was having threats that night. Not what I called it. No cops. Yeah, and then Paul's making a point here. No cops to secure the house after attack at Mesquite. Yeah, it's kind of, you know, makes no sense. I mean, it's kind of police 101. We might want to watch the scene that's potentially full of evidence. And sometimes in an investigation, you know, I did a little police work when I was, you know, in another life. And, you sometimes you don't know what you're looking for right away. You go in there and, I mean, you think you're looking for certain things, but then later on it turns out, oh, hey, we need to look and see if he had this specific computer device or this. I mean, who knows? You never know what evidence you're going to have to go back to. So it was really stupid and crappy police work on their part to leave it unsecure and let somebody go in there and tear it all up. So yeah, once again, great police work on their on their side on that. I mean, great if you want to not get to the bottom of it, I guess. So, all right. And Paul says could have something to do with the ones that want to take all guns, make Americans defenseless. It's never overnight, always subtle. Take this here, take that there, limit magazine size, etc. I totally agree with you. They're doing it here in my neck of the woods in Washington State. I mean, they're trying to do, we just want common sense gun reform. No, I dare you to say to a liberal, though, just if you ever want to joke that, hey, I'm not against abortion. I just want common sense abortion control, reform or control. Say that and see how they respond, but they expect me to respond all nice when they say they want to, and these are folks that don't even understand firearms, but they want to put in these bills. Oh, we're going to modify trigger devices and all this other crap. And, they want to go the way of California. Sorry, man. Ain't happening to me. The supreme word on this is the Second Amendment, and the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed is what it says. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. KL's asking, did you record all the early YouTube videos as well? That'd be amazing to have the early published videos. Yeah, anything with keywords to do with Las Vegas. Las Vegas Massacre, Las Vegas Attack. So I got like the stuff from InfoWars. I got stuff from independent people that just put out videos, stuff like that. It basically grabbed everything and I threw it on an external hard drive. So yeah, it has all that. Slayer 88. Why no ballistic report of bullets retrieved from the ground victims to know which guns were used? Yeah, great point. Great point. And I'd like to see, and maybe it'll come out in a later report, but I'd like to see exactly what type of ammo he was using too, because I'm curious if he was using light armor piercing or hollow points or what. I heard he had both in the room, but I'm just, one of those things I like to know. Yeah, Paul Revere says abortions equals women's choice. Abortions also kill women. Yeah, I'm just, making a point. It's just, people always get on, I always have a lot of debates about the Second Amendment. People, well, why do you get so offended about that? And it's like, because if I give an inch, you take 10 miles. I've heard this game before. The people like me that go out and legally buy firearms, and I go out and I legally get a concealed weapons permit, and I legally follow the law, I'm not your problem. I'm not the one you need to sweat. I'm not the guy that's going to break into your house. I'm not the criminal. So don't treat me like it. That's all I'm asking. How about we start punishing people, for gun crimes a lot more severely and stop letting them out? How about that? Just a thought. My weapons are for defense and for target shooting only. I would never use one of my weapons to harm somebody for no reason, ever. But yet, every time, you have these, gun control, they want to make all legal gun owners out to be the criminals. I'm not the damn criminal. I fought for this country. So I think that entitles me to some of the rights. And that Second Amendment right is one I'm definitely going to take advantage of. So anyway, going to get off my soapbox. Kelly Railbone, it's our God-given right to be able to defend ourselves. It goes beyond any man-made laws. You damn right. KL, oh wow, it would be awesome to set up a site to host all of those. I do have another YouTube site I started, or it's a YouTube channel I started. It was called like the Las Vegas Massacre Archive. And the original idea was I was going to just upload all the stuff on there and just kind of let the chips fall where they may. I think I might have to resurrect that idea. It's just, quite honestly, it's just a matter of finding the time, with working my job, and then my disabilities, and then everything else. It just makes it kind of hard to get the time to do things. But you can search it up. It actually, I have a few things on there. I just don't have a lot of content on there, but maybe I need to actually get off my rear end and just start publishing it, putting it on there. That would be a great way to get that stuff out there. Paul Revere says, Rahm Emanuel, mayor in Illinois, never let a good crisis go to waste. Yeah, and that's what they do. I mean, look at Parkland. That was just, wow. I mean, instead of looking at the fact that the cops basically let this kid perform this horrible act with not, I mean, it had how many 911 calls in this kid, and they never bothered to intervene once. But the real criminals that came out of the whole thing were the NRA and legal gun owners. I'm going to take a drink of Gatorade here for a sec, so I'm going to mute my mic. I can't stand it when people drink and eat when they're doing live streams. So give me 1 second. You're going to hear dead air. I know dead air is not good on one of these, but I don't want you to have to listen to that. So 1 second. Okay, and we're back without you having to hear that gross sound. So anyway. Yeah, Paul Revere says gun control, hold with both hands and shoot straight. Here, Kale says, Bob Whittlefish here on YouTube has a great website to host everything he had and has, but a lot has been wiped from original sites. Yeah. And that was the thing. That's why I set up my computer to get those, because I figured people were going to start taking them down. And so I got, quite honestly, some of the ones that I downloaded were so incredibly graphic, I would never put them on my channel. They are horrible. There's one where the person, I don't know if others have seen it, but there was a video where somebody was basically, it was right, it must have been right in this area here where the majority of the casualties were, and they're basically this guy's going person to person, checking on them, like holding a cell phone camera while he's doing it. It was just absolutely horrible. It was like things I saw in Iraq. It was just, I watched that video once to see what it was, and I don't think I could do it again. It's just horrible seeing things like that, death and things like that. Just, absolutely horrible, no matter the circumstances. It's always bad. But, yeah, very well could be. But yeah, so we should have that new report coming out soon. So we'll see what they got to say on it. I'm going to keep going through those 911 calls. And yeah, KL, maybe I'll start trying to upload to that site. And let me give me 1 second. Yeah, Las Vegas. So it's titled the Las Vegas Massacre Video Archive. That was the name that I gave my website or my YouTube channel. But there's some content on there, but not much. But maybe one of these weekends or something, I just should sit there and just start uploading stuff, and call it good and go from there. So, anywho, let me go ahead and stop that there. So, all right, guys, I think I'm going to call it a night. It's been a long day for me, but I definitely wanted to get that Fatburger thing out there. And so I want to do another live stream soon. So if you guys get any more information, on that Fatburger, you find any evidence out about it, I'm going to do my own research as well. And we meet back up and go over what we found. Yeah, KL's saying she's seen that video that the one that I was speaking about that I saw. Yeah, that was a horrible one. I don't like seeing stuff like that. And I guess I don't know. Maybe videos like that are good to train like first responders to say this is what you're going to see. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Kale's gonna check out my YouTube page and let me know. Start uploading. Yeah, and I'll just start throwing them on there, and without a lot of descriptions. Only way. I mean, literally, there's just thousands, hundreds. I don't even know how many. It filled up like a terabyte. I mean, it's just a massive amount. And there could be a lot of garbage in there too, to be honest with you. But most of the ones that I skimmed through, they were relevant, and a lot of mainstream media and stuff like that. So take it with a grain of salt. But there's a lot of other independent media and stuff in there, and just raw video footage that's been loaded. But There's been a lot of channels that have been pretty good about getting the raw video footage of the shootings out there and keeping it out there. But anyway, so that's it. We'll meet up again. I'll keep going through this stuff, and when I find some new stuff, we'll do it again and do another live stream. Maybe we'll do another like a long live stream this weekend. I don't know. I usually try to do it around 8 or 9 Pacific time. I don't know how well that works for everybody. I'm trying to base it off my analytics numbers and when the most people seem to be active. So I'll stick with this time if it works for everybody. But I'm sure it's not convenient for some folks. But anyway, all right, everybody. I know I'm starting to ramble, so I'll let you all go. All right, take it easy. God bless.